Just taking a look at the Liverpool manager odds, and we're seeing Ruben Amorim up at the top there. There's been some developments in this story, which is why we're now going to welcome in Mark Ogden, who's about to file a report on this very subject. James Ollie's still with us. Tell us more, Mark.
Hi, Kay. I filed it, by the way, so I'm done there. But basically, Xabi Alonso is not going to go to Liverpool. Liverpool have pulled out there. They've decided that he's... The word they're getting at Leverkusen is that Alonso wants to stay at Leverkusen for at least one more year. So Liverpool are having to look elsewhere. I mean, there's been a few little inklings this week that Alonso wasn't totally keen on being the guy after Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool. But prior to that, I think we've been on the show and talked about it recently that, you know, Michael Edwards has gone back now as the CEO of Fenway Sports Group, who are the football CEO, who are Liverpool's owners. And he has ideas that are different to what people maybe think about Xabi Alonso. Roberto De Zerbi at Brighton is the guy that is top of his list, but Amorim is another guy that is very highly rated at Liverpool. So I think by the start of next season, the new guy at Liverpool will either be Roberto De Zerbi, who's at Anfield on Sunday, ironically, with Brighton, or Sporting Lisbon's Ruben Amorim. So not Xabi Alonso. He's definitely not going to Liverpool and likely to be staying at Bayer Leverkusen.
Can you see Xabi's point here, Shaka?
I sympathise with it. Listen, as a player, you know you strike when the iron's hot. Big clubs come in for you, you move. As a manager, it's a different dynamic because you can manage for so much longer. And it's Xabi Alonso probably still sees himself in that learning phase. So it comes down to a very personal decision, one that if he stays at Leverkusen, you've got to applaud. Because I think he's seeing a bigger picture to this than many of us are.
It's a risk, isn't it, for him? To an extent, because you never know how football turns.
When it comes around again.
You know, Leverkusen at this moment in time look as if they're going to win the league this year. They've got a handsome lead. Played some great stuff. He's done a great job there. But who knows what next season brings? It could bring, you know, out of the Champions League in Germany in terms of they could be mid-table. You know, you look at what happened at it's a different scenario. But you look at what happened at Leicester City. You know, Claudio Ranieri, one of the most experienced coaches on the planet, goes in there, does this magnificent job. Yeah, there's a bunch of guys already there. They win the league. It's an amazing story. I mean, it's just an incredible story. And then next year he's sacked. Things can just turn. So sometimes you try and, you know, plot a way to get somewhere in the end, but it doesn't always work out that way. But I can understand it's a bit like not wanting to follow Fergie, isn't it?
So you're not too surprised then that he's pulled out of this option?
I'm a little surprised because football, it can change very quickly. A good manager can become an average manager pretty quickly, and those jobs, those big jobs, can go away. I mean,
and to that point, as I was saying, if you're a player, you strike where the iron's hot. If Leverkusen lose 4 or 5 of their players this summer, which is entirely possible because again, players' careers are shorter, you move when the opportunity is there. If they lose 4 or 5 players, things look very different for Xabi Alonso. Might
it be that there's more options available to him right now?
Well, possibly, but I think the bigger story is Liverpool, really. I don't mean... I mean, Xabi Alonso will do what Xabi Alonso will do, but this is a huge, huge void to fill at Liverpool. And De Zerbi's been great. This season, it's been a lot more topsy-turvy. If they go there at the weekend and get pummeled by this informed Liverpool team, and they have not defended well this year, Brighton, if they go there and get pummeled, it doesn't make him a bad manager, but it makes it a little bit more of a difficult sell.
James, it'll be interesting to get your reaction on this news from Mark, and also how it plays into the piece that you've just written about the domino effect of the managerial situation at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we kind of already knew that obviously there were going to be a number of clubs that were looking for managers this summer. And I think part of the problem with Liverpool as a sort of an appeal to any prospective managers replacing Klopp is that they've kind of already rebuilt the squad, right? I mean, they've already spent a lot of the money, rebuilt the midfield. You know, Klopp, prior to the announcement, was talking about this being Liverpool 2.0. You know, this is not Liverpool, I'm building it. And okay, yes, they're ahead of schedule. Obviously, I don't think anybody expected them to be quite so far advanced and in banging the title race as they are. But it's come together very quickly and very well. And if you're looking at that, you're not looking at a team that's thinking, well, you know, are we going to ship 1 or 2 out here, or 3 or 4 out, and can I really stamp my authority on it? Liverpool, it seems to my mind, in terms of the manager they might get in, are they going to? They've got to. The ultimate conundrum is this: are they going to try and the trajectory that Klopp has got them on, or are they going to trust a manager to take them into a different direction? And to me, that is quite closely linked with Mohamed Salah and what they do with him this summer. And Mark and I have debated this before about, you know, do they decide the Saudi money, I think, is going to come again for Mohamed Salah in the summer. He's going to have a year left on his contract. And there's 2 ways you could play that. If they offer something crazy, if it's, let's just for argument's sake say it's 200 million, which is the kind of ballpark they were talking about before, do you take that 200 million for Mohamed Salah and say, okay, to a new manager, yes, the talisman's gone, but this is the money you can reinvest and make this team, make this squad your own? Or do you say, no, Mohamed Salah, we can't lose our iconic manager and our best player in the same summer, but we risk maybe losing him for nothing. And if there's a downturn, if it doesn't go particularly well, and again, there's Saudi money or some other money from somewhere else, they throw it at Mohamed Salah in January, and, you know, he could obviously sign a pre-contract then, or they could lose him for nothing. That it does feel like a real kind of watershed moment, and that I'm not sure Liverpool have really clarified yet which path they want to take. Do they want to follow the Klopp route, or do they want to rip that blueprint up and entrust it to someone else?
Mark, what would be your opinion on Roberto De Zerbi as Liverpool manager?
Well, you know, you speak to people in the game, and he is the guy that everybody's talking about. He's a guy that, you know, you look at his record at Brighton, and like Craig said, they've not really kicked on this year from last year, but obviously they've had injuries, they've lost key players like, you know, Alexis McAllister, Moises Caicedo. I think he's got the characteristics for the job, but anybody following Klopp is going to find it a very difficult job to do. But I think he's a better fit tactically than Xabi Alonso. I think one of the reasons why Liverpool have decided not to pursue Xabi Alonso is the fact that his team is more of a Guardiola-style team. It's more pass sideways and more deliberate build-up rather than the kind of the high-energy game that Klopp plays. And I think De Zerbi's more happy to play. So, you know, De Zerbi's got a lot to prove. He did well at Shakhtar Donetsk, but that's the Ukrainian league. It's not the same level as we're talking about the Premier League. So I think the situation Liverpool have got is that they go for a guy that has got a lot of admirers, but he's not quite proved it as a very big club. And he is quite a spiky character as well. And I think clubs these days, they want coaches who kind of fit in line with what their so-called philosophy is. I think Ruben Amorim might be more of a happy fit there. And I think you should certainly keep an eye on Amorim. I think he's a strong candidate. I think there's not a lot between De Zerbi and Amorim in terms of the people who are making the decision. But they're not getting Alonso, and I think that will disappoint a lot of the fans. But I think just back to what Shaka and Craig was talking about striking while the iron's hot, there is a train of thought that Xabi Alonso really wants the Real Madrid job, and he's happy to sit it out until Carlo Ancelotti goes. Well, Ancelotti signed a contract earlier this year to 2026. Is he really going to stay at Leverkusen for 2 more years and risk, like the guys were saying, having a bad season, losing his players, and suddenly, you know, in a year's time there will be another flavour of the month? And I'm surprised that Alonso is leaning towards staying. I think that could be a mistake, but maybe he's been promised a job somewhere else. We don't know, but I'm surprised. I think if Liverpool had offered him the job, I think he'd find it very hard to turn down. But maybe Liverpool have decided to jump because they're not quite convinced that he's got the right blueprint for the squad that they've got.
It's interesting, isn't it? And to see if it is going to be Amorim, who has won a league with Sporting himself. Mm-hmm. So obviously that you can see why a name like that is top of the list right now for a position like this.
And I mean, he's saying at the moment, well, what does at the moment is he wants to stay at Leverkusen, but there's a big gorilla lurking. It's called Bayern Munich. Do you know what I'm saying? And looking to sort of snaffle up anything it can get because Thomas Tuchel is going. How successful he'll be before he goes remains to be seen. But I would say if he wants to keep himself hot as the hot topic whilst waiting for another job, I think it would be easier to do it at Bayern Munich than keeping doing it at Leverkusen. So